Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 3 of the Soul Sanctuary. Today, I have a guest coming on with me. This is a very, very special person. Let me bring her on stage.
Yay!
Hi.
Hi.
How are you? You look amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You're so
I'm doing
welcome.
good.
So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Jenna. I'm a good friend of Miss Emmy here, and we've known each other for a while now, huh? It's been probably 8 years, 7 years.
Has it been that long? I think it was like
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that before. I'm like, oh yeah, that's my friend from oh, wait a minute. It's been, oh my God, 10 years at least.
Yeah, no, it's I think was it like 2014 or something?
I don't know, but it feels like it's been a while. Anyways, for a long time.
It has.
But
So you've played a very significant role in my journey. Um, you were the one that helped introduce me to the whole concept of existing as the sacred feminine. Uh,
how so? Explain that. How did I inspire that?
well, I mean, when you met me a long time ago, I was completely closed off to everything and everyone. Catholic girl, we don't do cards, we don't play with demons, we don't do any work, and we don't tell anyone that we're different. And
Right.
right,
You
you
were kind of like lightning in a bottle. You know what I mean? That's the best way I could describe that. And it's almost like you didn't know where to go with all that energy.
yeah, yeah. It was
And
shutting me
honestly, I
down.
didn't know what I was doing either. I was just kind of going with it. But I think one of the biggest things I focused on you with was, remember I called it the finesse. So it's kind of like teaching you how to tame that fire and direct that energy. So, and I have to say, you have some really intense focus. And I'm kind of envious of that because I'm such a squirrel. My head's all, oh, what's that or what's this or oh, Jenna, focus. We're sitting down and we're focusing on this right now, and then I'll be like, oh yes. And then yesterday, what did I do yesterday? I can't even remember 5 minutes ago. And focus. But you have that ability, so I really admire that,
I
and
think
I
what
wish
I
I could.
I think what I love the most about you was that you just allowed me to be who I am. And there was no
Right.
expectation. There was no official attempt to try and guide me and harness me in some way. It was just kind of like, no, we don't burn down the world. There's good people still.
Right. And teaching you to get your point across, and you talk about the sacred feminine and you talk about that motherly energy and it's not even so much motherly energy. What is it really? It's just that gentleness. And so it's kind of like the caress that kind of, moms have a way of nudging their children to make the right decisions, or we shape them with a loving embrace. It's not so much that stern cold. And so when it came to watching you and your discussions with people, and you're so, just kind of, this is how it is. Oh, you fool, you're ignorant. You don't understand that, because you had this clarity and you were trying to share that. And it's frustrating when people come at you with so much resistance, and all you want to do is show them, what you're seeing. And I think one of the discussions we had once was about, Mary, you got to kind of find something common, or I was talking to you about the same thing. It's like you have to find that common ground where it's like, okay, we do agree on some things, but we different here, or we differ here. So while I understand your view, this is my view, and I can expect
Oh no, you
a
went
much
mute.
better response from them.
Okay, there you
Uh-oh,
are.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when you meet people on a common ground and share ideas from that point, you have a lot better chance of reaching them on a different level. It's kind of like you have a better chance of tilling the soil and planting your seed rather than just sticking it in the hard, the hard dirt. You need to soften that, break it up first before you plant that seed. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. It does,
And
and you
I,
kept repeating that with
yeah,
me for so many years where it's like, what is your actual goal? Like, are you trying to dominate people? I mean, without using those words, of course. Like, are you trying to dominate people or
right,
are you here to share? Because sharing does not involve
right,
force. And I think it was really you that shifted my perception on what a truly strong sacred feminine actually is. She just exists. Like our energy is so different, but we merge so beautifully. Like you said, I'm like
right.
metal and you're over here like twirling fairy dust. And I'm like, oh, you where? Yeah, I remember
That's true. And you brought out, I mean, you really taught me a lot too. And don't cut yourself short because you taught me strength. You taught me how to be secure and just go for it. Which is funny because I was the one that had to push you to go for it when isn't it interesting how we always have so much wisdom and insight, but we never use it for ourselves?
right.
And so I think it's important to have friendships like ours because we kind of, um, we bounce off each other. We keep each other going. We motivate each other. We encourage each other, and that's important
Yeah.
to have that support group too. So
Yeah, and we
yeah,
see things from such a different point of view, but we can come together and share our
right,
differing thoughts and have that respect and be able to hear, like actually hear each other. Like I value your opinions so much because it gives me a completely
right.
different view of the same exact thing. It helps me to realize like, girl, you might see clearly, but the way you go about it, it's not always the best way. Sometimes the softer way is the more efficient way, not just, blowing things up. Like, you can maybe like dig around a little bit, see a softer place. And that's so huge because I think right now, a lot of women, especially, they think that they either have to be extremely soft, hippie, new age, and they can't be like um, blunt, because that's not powerful, that's not spiritual. And then there's this other set
Right.
women who they think that, oh, I have to be a baddie, I have to like give 0 Fs. But in reality, what I learned between the two of us, you should try and be both when it's appropriate. Whichever one is most appropriate is what you should be. You should be a whole being.
Right, it's that balance. And so I refer to this as the swinging pendulum. Like, you have people that are so far one way where they're just passive and they just let kind of people walk all over them. Or they finally get this, the spine to stand up but then they finally get that center to stand up for themselves, but then they go too far. And now it's just like, screw everybody. I'm my own thing now. And that's not really what it is. With you and me being so very different, yet alike at the same time, I mean, we both come from a place of love. Um, we just have very different aspects of how we show that or how that source energy flows through us and how we help others. But I'll tell you, girl, our differences, we are one hell of a team. So you come in with that fire and I come in with that tranquility. And I mean, the things we've accomplished together were nothing short of amazing.
Yeah.
And, I think about that all the time. And both of us have kind of tapped into that energy. So, what is the sacred feminine? What is your idea of what that is?
At this point, it's really matured. It's become this all-encompassing thing. It's the mother and the childless one, the younger and the crone. Like it's everything. Allowing yourself to touch into all the aspects of your life, the parts that hurt, the parts that felt good, the parts that made you feel fractured, and the moments that made you feel whole. It's just really freeing yourself to choose what do you want to be in this moment,
Right.
and you can change your mind. You can be soft, you can be hard.
That's perfect. Right. And what's great about reaching that point, and so when you kind of get to that point, is that's really the point of creation. That's the point from which you have forward movement to what wasn't now is, or and that's the best way to create or to explain that. So one of the things I like to I like to use analogies. So think of sources being the sun itself, but that feminine energy, that divine energy, is like the energy that comes forth from the sun. It doesn't have any real direction. It doesn't have any real purpose other than to just be available, to be taken, accepted, and used to become something, to give life to. So it's kind of like that life breathing energy that courses through everything, that animates everything. And it's not really, I think sometimes people, think this masculine or feminine, but we put that into male or female kind of descriptions. And I think that kind of goes past the point of what it is. It's the substance, the clay, and then the life that animates it. And
Right.
so it's kind of like that cradle where it can become anything. It's that creative energy. And women, like, we can create life in our wombs, and but we need the seed from the male to make that possible. So
That's a very beautiful way to
yeah.
put it, like, the difference between the function and the form. The form is singular if you don't put the function with it. And the function really can't fully exist in the truth of what its function is without the proper form paired with it. So it's a beautiful play between differing polarities. It a lot of people think that it
Right.
has to do with like relationships, like, okay, you're my sacred feminine, I'm your divine masculine. I don't even want to say the word. I don't wanna say the word, and now I own you.
Oh, come on, the T word. Are you talking about the T word?
The T word. Let's both drink.
The twin flame?
Yes, yes.
Oh man. It was funny. I was just watching a show and the guy's like, I want to write a book called The Third Twin. And I was just thinking about how many people have come to us and been like, you're my twin flame. So that word, unfortunately, has been thrown around and kicked around too much. I think we all have been segregated to the point of separation. There, people need community, they need unity, and I feel like society is stacked against us, and we're constantly be driven apart, and isolated from each other. And we really do need that unity. And I think there's a longing inside of everyone for that because we don't have that anymore. And so as soon as you feel a connection with somebody, oh, they must be my soulmate. This must be the one. This is my twin flame. And I think that that term has kind of become muddied in a sense. What is a twin flame and what is a soulmate? What's the difference? And so, um, there's been many, many people, because we go public, especially you, who they resonate with what you're saying, what you're talking about speaks to them on a deep level. And so when they feel that connection, they think, oh, this must be, she gets me,
Yeah.
and it is possible to connect with many people, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're your twin flame. And that's not a bad thing. There's so much to learn from everybody that passes through our lives. And sometimes the soulmate can be a blip on our journey where, you have members of your soul family that kind of step in to just jar you off your path that you're going just to kind of redirect you. And so let's not cut their roles short. We shouldn't impugn their roles because those beings have a very important impact on our life. Whether it be just a day we crossed somebody's path in a store and had a nice conversation that really got us thinking about where we are in our journey, or if it's somebody that was long term that we learned several lessons from, and mostly hard lessons, but the hard lessons are the ones we never forget. So
Right.
those are pretty important people in your life too.
And I
You know?
love that you put it in such like a perfect little nutshell of everyone has an important role to play in your life to further enrich your understanding of yourself, your place in the world, and
Right.
to hyperfixate on just one person and to disregard so many others really does not do you any service. Taking on the role of the sacred feminine really has to do with understanding how you lead yourself through your own wilderness. That's a really beautiful thing. While you were talking, I got a phone notification leading how to lead a
Yeah.
movement. So it seems like the divine masculine and the sacred feminine, they're trying to lead this movement and no one really knows what it is. I feel like it's a movement within the self. This recognition that we are to move within ourselves, to shift between the emotional houses, mental houses, because we think we just have this one life within this life. And I don't know, I've seen you reinvent yourself several times. I've seen you
I
reincarnate.
think we live many lifetimes in one lifetime. I joke about this all the time, but I'm semi-serious about this. The me that I was 10 years ago is not the me that I am now. And the me that I was 20 years ago, certainly not the same person I am now. Granted, according to my social security number, my birthday and all that, yes, I am the same person, but we kind of go through these decades, and then I see my life in chapters, and that character is different in each one of those chapters because she progresses. And so, oh, see, there I go. I went off and I forgot where I was going with that. But, it's funny because there's different characters in each of those chapters. The be it the soulmate, the twin flame, whoever was involved was there at a particular time, and they were there at the perfect time for what I was going through at that stage in my life. And so it's funny because once you come to the end of that chapter with that person or that somebody, you almost blossom into somebody new. So there's this constant dying and regeneration within just one lifetime as it is. We start that new journey with the karma and the consequences or the lessons learned from that previous chapter, and that time spent with the individual or whatever we were going through, a passing of a loved one. It can really be anything, just a major event, and every time we get through that, we come out a different person, hopefully for the better.
And that's the
But I strongly believe karma is served in
yeah,
this lifetime because, those decisions.
we can't hear you. Mm.
Okay, how about now?
We can hear you now.
You can hear me? Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I think when we come into that divine feminine, with its different place of understanding. So we start to look at those past lives, you could say, or those past lessons, or those past um, paths that we traveled. We start to look at them differently with more understanding. So instead of looking back at the past and hanging on to it, we see it from a more understanding. Well, even though that person wronged me, I don't hate them.
Right.
I still love them. And it's not an unhealthy love. It's I understand why you are the way you are. I understand what your purpose was in my life. And this is what I learned from that. And so tapping into that divine feminine energy is kind of in that same aspect where you start to view things differently. And so you move forward with a different vision,
Yeah,
with a different understanding.
instead of clinging, like really, really clinging desperately to a concept that,
Hmm.
it sounded good when someone else told you, but it didn't really apply to your life and situation. I've learned to no longer be ashamed of the length of time someone will stay in my life, because you saw me for so many years struggle to connect with people, and you're really one of the very, very few that I allowed myself to connect with. And people would come in and out of the circles. You were present when some people decided to tell themselves the story that I was attacking them, and I mean, me really well, and
Oh gosh.
I just really can't be bothered to do any of that. I'm just like, either the whole world has to burn or we just leave it alone, and that was the most beautiful thing, to be able to have you as a constant, even though we didn't talk all the time. It was this knowing of, you're one of the most sweetest, most integrity filled, most compassionate people. And if you can still find it within yourself to be present in my life, maybe I'm not that bad. Maybe these people really are telling themselves a story, because I don't remember attacking anybody, like I'm just not like that. And I remember one day, and this was super powerful, because you've always talked me down from that edge of like just retaliating. And one day I had messaged you and it's like, Jenna, they tried to kill me yesterday on my birthday.
Yeah.
And like I did have an actual physiological issue with my heart at that point. And oh my gosh, you
Right.
told me something completely different than what I was expecting. You were like, "Well, you gotta not let them do that to you." And I was like, "Oh, is that the communication?"
It's so simple.
Yeah, I was like,
Duh, Mary.
"Right. I'm allowed to, like, not just take it?" And you're like, "Yeah, you can't just let people do that to you." And you said it in the, like, softest tone, and I was just like, "Oh my god,
Right.
I went too far in the wrong direction. I missed the middle mark, and I went so far into this direction of letting people get away with all sorts of things." I mean, I never retaliated, but that totally shifted my perception. Um, it wasn't about
And
having
as soon
people
as
like
that perception shifts, did you feel the change in just your energy right on the spot? Because
yes,
when you have all that frustration and anger, it's like every muscle in your body tenses. And then as soon as you realize, I don't have to take this, I don't have to be here for this. I don't, you know what? You can just let your frustrations go, but they're going to blow right through me. I don't have to hold on to those and take them personally. A lot of the times when we're under attack like that, it really has nothing to do with you and it's everything to do with the other person.
right.
And as soon as you kind of understand that, you don't have to hang on to it. It's like you just kind of get caught in the crossfire. You happen to be in the line of vision of somebody's frustration. And
Exactly. That's
sometimes,
exactly what it
people can
was,
be
though.
really persistent too, though. Right. And so I think we taught each other a lot of that because, with you, I mean, being so um, enlightening, so bold, so fierce, a lot of people really rely on you to kind of give them that inspiration. Like what would I do in this situation? What would Emmy tell me to do? Well, she'd say, screw that guy, burn it down, So you kind of give that people that fire. And then, here comes Jenna. No, we can just, whoops, hold on. we can, burn it down, but a controlled burn. I mean, not just blow it all to smithereens. But no, you give people inspiration, and I think sometimes when you go public, you're going to draw out some people that don't agree with you. You're going to, you know, attract some people that target you. And we were kind of talking about this a little bit earlier today, and that's one of the unfortunate things about going public. Um, and I think I've really tried to be there for you when those people do target you and when they do attack you, and because they make you question yourself. When they call you crazy and they call you this, and it's because they don't understand
Right.
where you're coming from or what you see or what you're trying to say. And so right away, if it doesn't agree with them, they're going to attack that. And so there's been times I remember holding your hand through that and, getting you back out there in the limelight.
And
And,
one of the things I
so what?
appreciated the most about when you would do that, it wasn't in a way where it was like you felt the need to attack them in order to defend me. It wasn't any form of gaslighting where it's like, well, I mean, people are just jealous. You need to get over it. It was like, okay, well, what do you feel? Like, yeah, people are how they are, but what about you inside you? And it was always this thing of because your energy twirls, and it's always this thing of helping me twirl myself back around into myself, where it's like, what part of you was shook? And why was it shaken? And what part of that structure either needs to be rebuilt, or was that part of the controlled demolition that you're experiencing so that you could build new structures, remodel, do whatever it is that you need to do? And I think that's really the path of the sacred feminine, knowing that you're constantly an evolving piece of art. Um, it's just like, how does the artist know when to quit? When it's done, you can just feel it. And when that piece of art is done, you start a new piece of art, which could really be a layer on top of the previous thing or something completely new. Either you're writing a new page in your book of life or you're starting a whole new chapter. What if part of what women like you and I are here to do is to help people understand you can even write an entirely new book.
Right. And you can even stop halfway through one and be like, I think it's time to go in a different direction and start over fresh. So that's what's nice about that. I love the way you described that with a controlled demolition. It is, it's all about a change of perspective. And it's like, rather than you can't control somebody else, but what you can control is yourself. And it's not like I don't get frustrated ever. I do. I just was a little bit ago when I couldn't find my other sock, because I just had the thing. And so there are times where you might get frustrated, but that's okay. Embrace that, and let it pass. And then when you're over it, start fresh. And, people, when they would attack you, you get that moment where you clam up and you're like, that's it. I just want to go black. I'm blocking everybody and I don't know when I'll be back. And that's perfectly okay. If you need to take a moment to recollect and reassess, yourself and your emotions and what you're right. What triggered this? Why did I get so upset? Is this a weak spot in my fortress, like you said, that I need to strengthen, or is it something that I need to get rid of altogether? So, those kind of people honestly are a blessing in a sense because they really make you take a look at yourself and realize what areas you need to work on in yourself. And of course, we're so quick to be like, you're the one with the problems. You need to go fix yourself. But what is it that let us get so upset by that, by them? And maybe that's what we need to work on in ourselves.
And allowing yourself to recognize
Yeah.
that maybe you don't know yourself as well as you think you do, you know? All these
Right.
years, I've allowed myself to change, sometimes begrudgingly, sometimes with grace that's appropriate for what I deserve, grace for self. And it's one of this one of these realizations that I had that it always reminds me of you, where the twirling of that
Yeah.
energy. It's not me out of control. It's not me making a mess. Because I used to be like, oh my God, your sparkles get everywhere. Jenna's been here. It's all sparkly everywhere. When I've been through a place, I remember you texting me one day. You were like, did you drive down the 25? There's fire everywhere. And I was like, yes, I did.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Uh-huh.
Yeah. She's
Mm.
like, there's tracks
It
of
was
fire.
so funny. I'm driving down this road and I'm like, it feels like a blazing fire tore through this. I'm like, were you here? Because I feel a lot of Miss Emmy over here. And that's that lightning though. I'm telling you, girl, you got fire. And I think you're just a beautiful being. Mm. I think about you all the time. And it's funny because that's usually what it is. I always think, oh, I miss my Emmy. Like, I miss when we used to, oh, remember when we used to like team up and just go tear things down? Anything dark, evil, we were on it. We were gonna move it out.
Yeah.
But me and you, I remember there's times you're like, Jenna, I'm working on somebody and I need someone to come in and kind of, like, you always knock me out and put me to sleep, or I need that tranquil energy. I need you to just calm things. And as soon as I step in, I'm like, hey, what's going on, guys? And instantly the stress levels come down.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important that, people are always trying to find others that are like them, and we forget that really it's our differences that what makes us strong. What makes a civilization is everybody bringing their different talents together, um, and we prosper from that. If we're all doing the same thing, well, it's not going to work. It's not going to function. And
Yeah.
so, I think I told this story before is when a friend of mine was like, oh, I don't like hanging out with these people because, they just bring my energy down. And I thought, well, maybe you're looking at it the wrong way. Why don't you look at yourself as bringing them up rather than them bringing you down? Just because they don't jive with what you're, well, how do I say it?
I can hear you now. Oh no, now I can't. Can't hear you.
Hear you. There you are.
There. Okay, there you are.
Sorry, guys. I keep having these pop-ups, and then they mute my phone. I realize that's what's doing it. But so you think about the stories of Jesus and how he didn't hang out with the people who thought like him. He went to new places to meet new people to share his concept and his ideas, and they weren't always welcomed at first. Um,
Yeah.
he didn't hang out with the in the
The elite.
churches with the
Yeah.
church leaders and the I mean he hung out with the lepers, he hung out with the thieves, he hung out in the ghettos, and he was there to bring people up. He didn't view them as bringing him down. He didn't not talk to people because he felt they were at a lower energy. And so I think, we look at Jesus as being that Christ energy and that masculine, that divine masculine, but really he embraced both. And so when I think of, the Holy Trinity, it's not just the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I think it's the Father, the Mother, the Child, or the masculine, the feminine, and the creation. And so you kind of need that duality to bring life forward, to bring things into being.
To
And
create.
I think he really grasped both sides. And so, you look at people that are opposite from you, it doesn't mean that they're any less than you or more. It just means they're in a different area than you are, different. And so what you're doing is trying to show each other the different views from your perspective. And so while he was able to understand them, that's why he was able to love them, being the thief, being the prostitute, being the murderer. He didn't judge them, he understood them. It doesn't mean he was okay with it, but he understood them. And so when he reached them at that level, he was able to teach them his views and where he stands and what he sees about creation and our life here. And I think people were more receptive because he was understanding and accepting and loving and non-judgmental. So we can learn a lot from that.
I think a lot of what people don't understand about the work of Jesus was that he saw people for the truth of who they are. He saw their potentiality, not merely the label and the social constructs that tell you what to do with a person with that label. And that's part of what the spiritual movement was really supposed to be about, seeing beyond the labels, beyond the veil of that social construct, and allowing the sacredness of your existence as a co-creator to come through. And something definitely got muddled along the way, and then they tossed in the T word, and then it became this whole cluster fluff of like, I'm a sacred feminine, but you know, broken in my sense of self. But I'm going to take on this label, which is now going to spackle me whole, but I'm not even going to sand it.
Right.
And then I'm going to like paint it. It's going to look really cute. And I'm going to put, whatever adornments. No, you can't question me because I'm sacred, but all of us are sacred.
Right.
What do you
Right.
say to people who have that type of mindset where, they've basically taken their religious type of structuring and placed it on this free-flowing spiritual type of development?
Well, really, that's just our human nature is we need to label everything so that we can understand it. We need to, build little boxes of what this is and what that is, and oh, well, I fit in this box, so that must be me. And unfortunately, we miss a lot because when you shove something in a box, not all of it can fit. So you're just getting little pieces of what that is. And so that's kind of like what you're saying, where you have these little pieces and you don't understand the whole of it. But at the same time, we don't learn everything all at once. You don't learn Spanish all in one day. You learn it with little bits of the words that you couldn't even put together in a sentence. But over time, as you practice that and you go through those motions, and you eventually learn the whole language. And so yeah, I always joke, we're running around in this world clueless, and then when we finally figure it out, it's time to die. And so that's really what the whole point of our existence is, though, is to go through that, to learn, to kind of experience things. We can't experience things without emotion, and you need, when you think of like a child and the first time they're exposed to something they've never seen before, there's all this excitement and exhilaration, like, what is that? And we're looking at it like it's a Q-tip. It's nothing that exciting, but to them, they've never seen it before. Well, I can stick this anywhere, you know? But so people are kind of, we never really grow out of that. As we mature and we think we've learned so much because we've been through so much, there really is so much more to learn. And so when people are trying to figure out where they fit, and not just society, now we're thinking further and the whole of the universe. Well, now we feel really small. So where do we fit in that whole? And so I think people grasp to these new terms that they never heard of because it's interesting, it's empowering. It sounds, oh, I'm divine, I am special. And sometimes that pendulum goes way off, but you see the pendulum swing before it finally rests into a center. And so, really, what you're seeing is that person's kind of off on the swing over this way. And though it might swing back the other way, but eventually they find that center and I think become more comfortable with who they are, realizing that yes, we're divine, but that doesn't mean we're gods walking around. And when we are, in a sense, because our ability to create, take something that, I mean, we can take clay and shape it into a beautiful pot. We can take berries, smash them, and make paints and make it a beautiful color. I mean, that's pretty amazing that we have the capability to do things like that. And that was just a simple example, but I think when people realize their divinity and their place in the universe, that they are something spectacular, they kind of get overexcited about it. But eventually that'll settle and they'll start to realize that, well, we all are. So it doesn't make you any less special. It just makes you special in a different way, in an
Right.
equal sense.
So, Mikey, he's over here
Yeah.
listen closely, because you talk about, you can take a pile of clay and turn it into something beautiful, but does it keep its form? Does it become something new just because you form it? And he's basically like, you have to allow your sacred flame to be the very thing that changes that structure into the new form and new function that it's meant to be. And I think a lot of what's happened in this world, especially with the sacred feminine, we're told how to harness that sacred fire. And it's not always in the way that it's designed to be used for each person, because reality is this: we all have fire, but we're all supposed to use it in different ways. And if you don't understand
Right.
how your fire is meant to be used, and you instead use it in the way that someone else has told you because that's appropriate for them, then it becomes an inappropriate use of your power, your sovereignty, your ability to create, rather than creating new life, new potentialities, or instead using it in a destructive manner, which again, it circles back to how crucial you've been in my life, where it's like, you are fire. That's what you are. Stop trying to put it out. Stop using it to destroy. Just play with it for a little bit. See what it's about. And that's been so huge. When you met me, I was super controlled. Everything had to be in its proper place. I have to act a specific way. I cannot say certain things. I mean, even with you, like if I tell you something, it's like, don't tell anyone, okay? And now I understand that my fire was never meant to be contained. That's why every bottle I put it in ended up melting. It's not that I'm necessarily a destroyer. I'm capable of that, but is that all I am?
Mhm.
No. I came to realize that for me, my definition for my personal journey as a sacred feminine, it's to be shared like campfires, so that you can roast marshmallows or make your
Mhm.
dinner or use it as the light in the darkness to tell stories of your life. It's okay to be split up and shared in that way. It doesn't have to be a huge bonfire that takes up an entire
Mhm.
state. And I think being in your presence, even though we were physically apart, even though we didn't like talk every day, just knowing that you existed and you saw me as I am and you gave me permission, it was like, okay, okay, let's see what this is about. Maybe I don't have to be so focused on things and hyper fixated on knowing exactly right here, right now, on what I'm supposed to be and do. And instead, kind of just let it unfold in the way, because you always would make these analogies with flowers, like the seeds having planted and flowers and gardens. And that's always stuck with me. That's definitely always stuck with me, where it's like, okay, flowers need time to grow. You can't tell it how to grow, when to grow. You can just provide the things that it needs and then let it do its thing. And I think that was the guidance that I actually needed, where it's guidance, but it's not. It's not something so specific that now I'm trying to basically be a clone of you. I don't think I could ever successfully be a copy of Jenna. I'm too hostile.
uh, No, you're so perfect the way you are. I would be so sad just keeping you. So, thinking about the seed, that's a great thing to look at. So when we plant that seed, we don't really see anything but a pile of dirt, and yet we sit and we pour water on it, and we sit and we, give it feed, or we put it somewhere where we know it's going to get sunshine. Why are we doing that? It's just a pile of dirt. It's because we have a knowing that the seed we planted will break through and will become something nourishing to us, be it visually nourishing with flowers or physically nourishing with food. And, or, a tree and we need its shade or we need its lumber. So we plant those seeds with intent. I don't think anybody's ever planted a seed without direct intent of something.
Right.
And we have this trust, this knowing that it's going to be exactly what expect it to be. And it takes nurturing to help it flourish and develop. And so that also is an aspect of that divine feminine. It's that knowing that that intention we put out there, that it's going to flourish. That seed that we planted, it's going to become something. It's going to grow. And it's the same thing, when we're pregnant. Do we sit there and we think about how we're forming the baby? No, we just trust that the seed's been planted and now it will grow. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to overthink it. And that also goes back to that feminine energy. It's just that calm, that knowing that, it's that twirl. It keeps spinning. It's not ever going to stop spinning because motion is what brings life. That's what animates everything. Nothing is still. And I mean, you've even had scientists talk about this and study this. Nothing is ever still because if it was, it would cease to exist. And so, I like to reference the Bible a lot too. And I think about that part in Genesis where it said, God breathed life into Adam. Well, I look at that feminine, that Sophia energy as being that breath of life that brought him to life. And so it's not one is more, is better than the other. It's both were necessary to bring that being to life.
Yeah.
And so if we can embrace both, I I really think that, it's a shame that feminine has been snuffed out over the centuries. And a lot of the times I wonder, like, what is it about women, about that feminine energy that is so terrifying? Is it because we want to tame the blaze? We want to destroy, conquer, control everything, and then you got the woman coming in like, hold on now, we don't have to burn it all down. But I often wonder, what is it? Why, for so long, have they pushed that down? We've been taught to not be emotional. We've been taught not to cry. We've been taught not to be considerate of others. We've been taught, to it's fight, do or die, fight to survive. It's them or you. And when you tap into that feminine side, it's more of a community type thing where you are concerned about how others are doing. You are do feel emotion and you do express that emotion, and that's okay. And we're not, what is it? Why do they want to quash that? And I think it's because that divine feminine, when you really look into that, it's the point of creation where anything's possible. And when somebody sees that or reaches that point of understanding, they realize they are capable of anything. They are master creators. They are less affected by the negativity of other people, of other beings. And so I think we're harder to control once we tap into that divine feminine side, where it's like, no, actually, we are important. There it is importance in sharing emotion and being together and unifying and co-creating. It's not just one way of doing things. There's infinite ways of doing things and reaching. Um, it's a different understanding, and I think that it's very empowering. And so when you see so much of this of this awakening of the divine feminine, there's a lot of people that are grasping this like, oh my God, I don't have to put up with your shit because I'm divine.
Right.
And you got your problem, so you just go over there. But they're tapping into that power, and it's a little explosive at first, but I do think things will simmer down and start to balance. But I'm really excited to see people discussing this more because we've been quieted for so long, you
I think
know.
everything you're saying, it really puts it all in perspective. It's not about us versus them or male versus female. It's about this sacred feminine energy that carries with it the other half of creation. This realization that when we pair the two together, and again, I'm not talking about male and female, I'm talking about that sacred feminine energy that all of us have.
Hmm.
It becomes this thing where you're now unstoppable because you understand to a much higher and deeper degree. You have the ability to create, to co create, to heal, to self heal. You can
Hmm.
balance yourself. You become stabilized. And when you're stabilized, you're much harder to control. I think it has a lot to do with
Exactly.
external forces attempting to control. It's almost like this visual of being in one of those really high tech nurseries where they're trying to push specific types of traits within the plant. And it's not
Hmm.
natural for the plant to have that trait, but they're trying to say, like, we can market off of this way more profit than a regular
Hmm.
organically grown plant, to the point where now so many of us are GMO, grievously modified opinions, that being organic, being authentic, that is valuable. You're going to pay top dollar in energy to be in the presence of someone that's organic and authentic. And I don't necessarily want us to look at it as like they robbed us of our authenticity and look what they did. Instead, think of it what it is. Like, it's so much more valuable. There's this intrinsic value to you and being who you are. And even if you identify as male, you have that sacred feminine energy as well. It doesn't make you some pariah or weak, or you're not a balanced male because you exhibit feminine traits. I feel like a man who can tap into that nurturing, a man who has hands strong enough to destroy yet uses them to raise children softly. Oh my gosh, that is so powerful. And that is just wow. Um, I think the
Right.
women, the more feminine of our species, will help to guide us out of this place of fallen patriarchy. But we have to know who we are before we begin trying to guide people. What do you think is the best way for anyone, whether male or female, to go about the start of this journey?
Yeah, that's so many women have been hurt. And can you hear me?
I
Okay,
can.
because I did have a pop-up. Okay. So, and there's a lot of that anger and resentment, and so we feel almost like we're owed this right to voice our opinion, and now it's our turn to take over. So we have to be careful that as we transgress out of this way of life, this patriotism or patriarch, uh, we need to understand too, going full blown the opposite's not going to help. We don't want to go too far the other way, or now we dictate how things go. Now we say what we will do, and now and we can't go about it that way either. What we need to do is um, stand up for ourselves, voice our opinions, and I think really, if you think about it, we are pretty new in this. I mean, it hasn't even been a century. Women, first started speaking up for themselves and saying we wanted a right to vote. We want to be heard. We don't just make babies and cook meals for our men. Like we have a heart, we have a mind, we have a soul, we have a voice. And so this is all pretty fresh. And I think we've come a long way, and I think we're making great strides. Now, there has been some times where we kind of sweep over too far to the other side. And what you see happen from that is people start to stop listening. When they're like, "Oh, you're a feminazi now," and no, it's just we have a lot of buried hurt and trauma. I think every woman you speak to will have some trauma in her past at the hands of a man, unfortunately, or has seen it in family or something of the sort. And so we have to understand the way society has raised us. We've been taught that the man is the superior and the woman is the inferior. So when you start talking about masculine versus feminine, we think, oh, well, if it's feminine, it's inferior. And so when men hear, you need to tap into that, you need to find that balance between the divine masculine and feminine, right away they're going to think feminine, no way. I'm not this way or I'm not that way. I'm a man. And the same thing with women. I could learn to balance a little bit more, but um, I think the first step would be to take off the labels of what we think is, first of all, divine, and then feminine, masculine, what that means. Um, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Because I can't. There you are. Too many pop-ups. I gotta find a way to shut that off. But so I think honestly, it's really enlightening. It's really not enlightening, but exciting to see that people are actually talking about this now, and we're trying to grasp and understand what it is and what it means, and how do we bring ourselves into balance between both of these very different energies. Um, Very different, neither one lesser or greater than the other. And I'm just happy to see that people are actually talking about it now and trying to, grasp understanding of what that is and what it means to um, be to live within that balance and how to stay consistent in that balance.
Right. I think I'm coming to the realization of why you've been so crucial, especially at the very start of my process of allowing myself to become much more organic, much more authentic. I have such a masculine energy, and that's basically what I was immersed in as
Hmm.
a child. You have such a feminine energy, and we're positioned in polar opposites. We have such an opposing positioning on that plane of existence, and it's seeing you that far that way that tells me exactly where my middle is. It was never about trying to
Right.
emulate you more, but it was about trying to understand, if you're all the way over there and I'm all the way over here, is there a person that's right, or is it more of there's a middle point that both of us could come to, and we can share space in that middle point and be able to hear each other, see each other, communicate effectively. And you can tell me about what it's like to be there. I can tell you what it's like to be here. And then we can better understand the things within ourselves that maybe could benefit from adjusting just a little bit. Not to be more like you or more
Hmm.
like me, but to better find our actual center point within ourselves. It's been a really beautiful journey. I think I can say that at
Right.
this point. It's been a really beautiful journey,
Right.
not because of the absence of struggle or strife or adversity, even. It's been a beautiful journey because you've really helped me find where my center point is. And every time someone comes forward to either encourage me or provide the adversarial challenge of like, I'm going to destroy Emmy because, whatever their reason is, it better helps me to recalibrate and refine the new center within me. As I've grown, my center of gravity changes. And,
Hmm.
that spinning, because remember, I never used to spin. I was just like, shoot him down. Just shut him down, Jenna. Just shut him down. And now I realize it's okay for me to be a tornado. It's okay for me to be chaos.
Hmm.
I don't exist to destroy. It's just this positive and negativity and what happens as it chases each other around. But if I stay centered inside my tornado, there's silence and stillness in the eye of my storm. You've
Hmm.
always told me that, like, go to center. It's quiet there. And I'm like, no,
Hmm.
everything's swirling. I just make it stop. I'm dizzy. Just go to the center. It's quiet there. And now I get it. I think I get it not because you told me. I get it because you gave me the space to realize I'm not going to get it until I quiet my fears down and really sit and listen to
Hmm.
myself. I think that's one of the most powerful
Right.
things that a sacred feminine can do, not just for the divine masculine, but for other sacred feminines who are losing their way or think they are. Because those were all just perceptions that I had. I thought I was losing my way, and you were
Hmm.
always just like, no, Mary. No, you're not. No, you just have to quiet down, go out in nature, ground yourself. I'm still not able to ground myself, but I realize now that maybe I'm not supposed to. Maybe I'm supposed to learn how to function in the way I was designed, which is not grounded, and be okay with that. And if there ever comes a point in my life where I should be grounded, that I'll find a way how to ground myself. It will be something that I'll go through
Hold
and
on.
realize. Hmm?
What is your idea of being grounded?
Um, and that's the thing. I don't know. I haven't defined it
Because
yet.
don't you realize you're grounded right now? You don't see that?
No, I don't. Because I think there's
You
still a part
don't,
of me.
do you think that being grounded is staying in one place?
I haven't defined it.
You are very grounded. And just look at where you are right now and the state that you're in right now is you're very secure and sure, and that's what being grounded is knowing yourself, recognizing yourself, being able to do so. If you're in the eye of that storm, you're grounded. You're the center. I mean, the tree blossoms all around it. The wind swirls around it. And you'd be surprised. A lot of people think they're not grounded, and they are. I think there's a misunderstanding of what that means. When you're sitting there and you stop and you take a look at yourself, you're grounding yourself because you're putting yourself at a point and you're observing from all around. In a sense, that's grounding yourself. Um, it doesn't mean you have to stay in one place. You can travel all over and constantly be bouncing around like a ping pong ball let loose in a aquarium. But um, I always thought you were quite grounded. You're very strong when you stand your ground. Girl, there is no budging you. It doesn't matter what kind of hurricane comes your way. You will be the one tree standing. And you
Yeah.
know, don't cut yourself short because I think you're a lot further along than you think you are. We're constantly judging ourselves like, oh, I should be more this or I should be more that, or why don't you just make like a tree and be? Remember, a tree doesn't think about what it has to do. It doesn't think about how tall it's supposed to grow. It doesn't think about what it's supposed to be used for. It's just there. It just is. It's happy. It grows. It does what it knows best, and that's just to be itself. It doesn't know that it's responsible for giving everything life on this planet by providing oxygen so that we can all thrive. It doesn't think about that. It just is. The sun doesn't think about where it's sending its light. It just exists in itself. And so, in that sense, you're grounded. You're there. You're available. You're ready to be used by others and however you can benefit them. And sometimes that can be as simple as a smile to somebody that was having a bad day. You didn't know anything about what was going on in their life. You didn't smile at them because you knew you were going to make their day better. It's just you do what you do and you be yourself. And so that's really what being grounded is. It's just understanding that you don't have to. do anything, go anywhere, be anything, be anyone, except just be. Just be yourself. Just take every day one day at a time. Be creative. What can you do today that you didn't do yesterday? What can you do different, to kind of change how things are going? Or maybe everything's great and you don't need to change anything. How can you keep it going, flowing in that direction? And so, everything is constantly changing. And so we need to be fluid. We need to be flexible. That doesn't mean you're not grounded. That doesn't mean if something comes and ruffles your feathers, a quick breeze comes through and knocks all the things down, doesn't mean you're not grounded. It just means that, okay, you got to recalibrate. And how do we put everything back in order? And so you get back to that centered. But yeah, babe, you're doing great. Everything that you are is just amazing, and so many people are inspired by you. And I remember people buying the things you make just to be able to touch something that you touched. That's how impactful you are on people. And so you're doing everything exactly how you're supposed to be doing it. And you know what? If you get upset sometimes, don't judge yourself so harshly. We're emotional creatures. We're meant to be emotional. And, like I said, I was throwing a fit because I couldn't find my sock, and then I stopped and, like, whoa, Jenna. Whoa, if people could see you now, they'd be like, dang, she's not so sweet after all.
No, you're perfect. You
But,
really are. Alexandra says, "Thanks, Jenna. New perspective
yeah,
on grounding." And
why are
that
you, why, what are the tears for?
a realization, just realizing.
Mm-hmm. Can you share that? No. It's funny because you talk about how, I want to be more like Jenna, and I'm sitting here thinking, I want to be more like you. And, it was great when you were talking about how I'm over here and you're way over there. And really, when we look at ourselves, let's take it all the way back to source. How the only way source is going to learn anything about itself is to disperse, to expand out so that, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay? Okay, so to separate from itself so that it can see itself from another perspective, because without that opposite viewing point, you can't see the other side. And so without those 2 points, there is no middle. And so I really liked where you're going with that because, well, I see you over there and you see me over here. How do we get to the middle? And what happens when we reach that middle point? So many beautiful things come to pass.
Yeah.
And me and you are quite the duo. I am so grateful for our friendship. And I know there's been times where we drifted apart. And it's funny because we come back together and we're like, well, I was just going through so much trauma and I knew you were, and I didn't want to bring you down with my trauma. I'm like, oh my gosh, me too, because I knew you were going through some stuff too. And here we ended up supporting each other and coming out of that darkness feeling so much better, feeling stronger, like we can endure this, we can get through this. Why the heck were we hiding from each other? Why didn't we not, why did we withdraw? And we find out that, when we're going through those things, we go through them, we survive them so much better together than by ourselves. And I remember one time I was looking for you because, I'll remote view you. And I'll be looking, where's my Emmie? Where's my Emmie? And I remember the one time I see you and you're like this and you're hiding, but you're in an empty room full of light. And here's little Emmie. And silly girl, you can hide, but I still see you. What are you hiding from?
And You know what's funny? I distinctly remember that, and I was just like, "She's gonna look, she's gonna feel, and she's gonna look, and if I just hide, she won't see me." And then you texted me. You're like, "You're so silly. Why are you in an empty room with your hands over your eyes?" I was just like, "Ah, she sees me." I think, I think today, to answer your question about the tears, um, you've spent so much time trying to encourage me to see me from your perspective, because you have an
Mhm,
unbiased perspective. You see me in the reality of who I am, what I am, and it's not, I guess you could say, tainted by the history of my trauma, because I can't see myself clearly because of the distortions caused by my traumas.
mhm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was just talking to my guy about this yesterday. He had said that his sister-in-law came to him and mentioned something about, oh, well, you do know this about Jenna's past. And he didn't really know how to respond to that because we've talked about the traumas we've gone through and the things we've done and, some of the decisions we've made. And I just told him, I said, you know what, next time somebody comes to you and asks you about that, just say, does it change your opinion about her? Because who I am today is not who I was then. And the person that they know and they see every day, that's who I am now. And so to judge somebody by their past isn't fair because we all have things that, we're not entirely proud of, that maybe we would have done differently in retrospect. But at the same time, I don't regret those things because they've shaped the person that I am. And so when I look at other people and the way that um, the the journeys that they have traveled and the struggles they've endured and some of the mistakes they've made, I don't judge them by that because I understand that's what shaped you. And so, unfortunately, sometimes you have people that, suffer enough trauma that it takes them to a dark space. And I think we both know there's been times we've been pushed to go dark. And we were just talking about this the other day, that it takes a lot of strength and courage, to be able to let that past go and let that not shape us and let that not turn us into something that we don't want to be and to turn us dark like that. And so, but you don't want to forget the past either because it played a very important part in your life, be it, a happy past or a traumatic past. It all had a part to play in who you are today and how you can connect with others and how you can reach out to others and understand what others are going through. Sometimes those traumas we go through prepare us to be able to reach out to others that have suffered the same. And so don't look at those as being bad because now you're able to talk to people that have gone through the same things or something similar. We each have our own different variations, but you can actually reach people where they feel like they're understood. And so don't cut yourself short. You've come so far, Emmy. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. Do you
Thank you.
remember when we first met? I love telling this story. I tell it all the time. I was like, yeah, there's this girl, and she was on my friend's feed all the time, always commenting. And yeah, I just kind of pulled up her profile. I'm like, who is this girl? Because you're always making these snarky comments. And then I pull you up again, and I'm like, who is this girl? So, I didn't even realize I was reading into you because I didn't even know I had that ability. And all of a sudden, this message pops up, and she's like, "Are you trying to read me?" I'm like, "Who is it?" I just tell me. What do you see? You're lucky I didn't zap you or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't
I,
remember
uh,
the exact words, but
uh-huh.
I was just like, "Ugh, she's trying to see me." And I'm like, "Why can she see me?" 'Cause I felt it. We hadn't even
Yeah, it was really bizarre.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, what's funny is you helped me to grow because you made me realize, that um, what I was capable of that I didn't even know I was. You you've really shown a light, Miss Lightning, in my life of who I was. And you taught me, you're like my Miyagi, like you taught me how to expand on those talents. And you're like, here, look at this here. Okay, what do you see in this person? Or what do you do? And, I was always a little cautious, like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to judge a book by its cover, even though I have a full download of everything that person's been through, gone through, and who they are in an instant. But
Yeah.
then, I don't know anything about this person. You're like, no, just tell me. And then you'd be like, yeah, right on the money, you see? And
Yeah.
so you helped me build that confidence that I'm so lacking.
Michael brings this memory up. Years ago, when I had come across a person that I assume is my counterpart, I was like, "Hey, can you read this picture? Can you read this profile?" And immediately you were like, "Oh, oh," you electrocuted me. I was like, and you're like, "Oh, it's like when you're in a bad mood." I was like, "Oh, great." Oh my gosh. So I guess, my energy isn't as cloaked as I'd like to think for some people, but that's okay because the people who need to see me, the people who are able to see me are the people who I've found over all these years, they're the ones who can exist as mirrors of the things that are difficult for me to see about myself. It's very easy for me to see my
Right.
shadow aspects. Very, very easy. I'm so cognitively aware of the destructive portions of myself, but the parts that, could be more easily celebrated by other people, that's hard to see. The parts that people would cherish. It's kind of like, why would you even compliment me? That's weird. Why are you saying this? And you've always taught me, like, no, that's the reality of how people are seeing you. Um, so, going back to why I started getting emotional, because I actually finally see through your eyes.
Aw, remember you're like, I just don't know what to do with myself. Our vehicles are breaking down and Michael keeps kicking me for some reason. I don't know why. And, you're really at your wit's end and you're like, I just want to help people. Like, I have all these gifts and I don't know which direction to go. And remember, I told you, you just gotta start moving forward, one foot in front of the other, and the path will illuminate itself. And so you start doing these live cams and you're on Facebook and you're just like, hi, da da da, I'm just going for a walk today. Let's talk about things. And instantly people were drawn to you. I mean, you went from 0 to 60 like that. And
Crazy.
before, when you were at that point of, yeah, when you're at that point of despair, there was no way for you to know that that's where you were going to be headed. There was no way to know that where you are right now is where that first step was going to take you. But it took a lot of a lot of trust, confidence, and just what's the word I'm looking for? Just go for it. Just go for it. Just do it and see where it takes you. And I've watched you on your videos. You've gone to tarot readings. I mean, there was one especially that really just hit home hard. And that's when I was, first going through this divorce and stuff, and I was just being attacked nonstop to the point where I thought, this man wants me to die. Like he will do everything to break me and to shut. And I felt like I was trampled into the ground and just, drowning in my tears. And you had said something about your seed being planted and that darkness is the womb, and the kind of that earth that surrounds you, and you're watering yourself with those tears are watering that seed. And you said it so much more beautifully than that, but you really made me feel like a phoenix about to rise from the ashes when you said that. And so, I mean, don't cut yourself short because sometimes you don't even realize how the words that you speak resonate with someone. And it can feel like it's falling on deaf ears at the time, or maybe nobody's listening. But somewhere along the way, somebody comes across that message and it hits home and completely changes their whole perspective of not only their life, but themselves. And so don't ever cut yourself short, girlfriend, because you want to talk about a mirror. You're a whole hall of mirrors.
But distortions when you try and view yourself, if you're the entire whole, um, that
Right.
that was the only thing, and it's this need for me to enter into this place of acceptance that I'm the entire whole, and it has to be okay. It has to be okay. I have to exit the last remaining vestiges of this desire to fit in, desire to please, like, live up to family based standards of who I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be, and really just allowing myself to finally go through that final transformation where I become a complete new reincarnation of myself in this lifetime. I think you just helped me
So
do that.
think about that. What is that feeling, though? I want to touch on that point right there. So you talk about it has to be. How about it just is? When you say those two, there's a difference in how those it has to be. It seems like it just isn't, or it's a constant direction of like chasing that carrot, you never get it. But when you get to that point of you just are. It just is. You don't have to be anything. You're not supposed to be anything except in that moment, that now. And so try to when you're thinking about that with yourself of what you're trying to have that self realization, don't think about what you think you should be or how you think you're supposed to be or how you think you shouldn't be or people told you how you're supposed to be, but you're not supposed to be that way because you're supposed to be this way. Do you see how that happens? You
Yeah.
need to just let that go. They have their opinions about what you're supposed to be. Well, that's a parent's job, is to try to shape you into an adult to where you can succeed. And so they do their best to do that. And so when they put those labels of you should be, you should be, you should be, you're thinking, well, hello, I'm all of these things because I'm a kid, so we're the superhero, we're the astronaut, and I think that child was never any one thing. They were everything. They can be anything. If
Yeah.
they get bored with something, they move on to the next. And so stop beating yourself up about what are you supposed to be? Well, you just are, and that's all you need to be.
I think that's where I'm at now. Um, I think what I mean by it has to be okay is allowing myself to enter into this place of just being that, instead of like trying to understand, why do I have to be a hall? Why, how many mirrors do I need? What angle does it have to be at? How many people do I allow in at one time? Should I kick them out first before I allow, you know what I mean? Because I'm an overthinker, and it's this thing of like, seeing myself right now in your eyes, it's like I just am. And everything I needed to
Mhm.
be and don't need to be, it just is. And it's like, oh, wow. I've been going in cycles and circles again, and I haven't had clarity because I haven't allowed anyone else in enough to be able to witness the quiet things that go on in my mind. And then, of course, I can't hide from you. So it's just like, there she is in circle. and
Aw,
And I think I've been running in circles in my mind because it was a scary thing to enter into the stillness of that center point. So if I allowed myself to be spun in circles on the exterior of my existence, I'd never have the opportunity to look in and see that I need to re-enter into the eye of my storm and be able to see the world that I've co-created around me. Like, this community is amazing. All of these people that
yeah.
we join, oh my god, they're
Aw.
amazing. I think I've built a Jenna community where like
That's
yeah,
awesome.
egg me on to just be myself and not be apologetic about this or that and just accept. Um, it's a beautiful
Mhm.
thing, but to be able to have all of that concentrated in one person and for the two of us to have this conversation, it's so profound. It's so profound for me personally because it really helps me to see like I understand I've grown, but I don't understand to the gravity of how much I've grown. Like
Mhm.
I haven't allowed myself to see that. And now I see it and it's like, okay, okay. It's just okay. There's no like, okay, now I need to this or it's just no, it's okay. Like, oh, I've already been doing it. Like, okay. Calm down, girl. Calm down. You know, I have to have those conversations with myself because um I realize there's probably never going to be a period in my life where I'm going to stop with my tension within myself. And I
Right.
guess that's okay
But
simply.
that's good.
Yeah, that's a part that grows me, that continues to encourage me
Right.
to grow. So, um, falling
Right.
deeper into this place of self acceptance on a much deeper, more profound level. Uh, thank you.
Yeah, and that's that divine feminine right there too. It's realizing that creation isn't told it has to do anything. You know, that creative energy doesn't have to do anything. It does, what is it? It goes off emotion. What does it want to become? And so when you find that in yourself, that's tapping into that divine energy. That's that calm, that center point between breaths. That before the pendulum switches directions, there's that point of stillness. And I think that's why you say, "Oh, Jenna, you're divine feminine," blah blah blah. It's because I have that calm. And not always, but most of the time. But it's because I have that understanding and I have that trust that things will work out the way they're supposed to. There's that divine timing. You can't force it, you can't make it go faster. And we're not meant to because, if, like somebody said, if we got all the things we wished for all at once, we wouldn't know what to do with them. And we'd probably screw it up.
Right.
And I laugh because I was talking about this to my significant other. He says, "You're everything I ever wanted." And the girls are a family. And all of a sudden he went from this lifetime bachelor to now he has a wife and now he has children and now he has kittens. He never thought he'd have kittens. And now he has a home, he has responsibility. And he's like, "These are all the things I always wanted. I just never thought they were in God's plans for me." Well, all of a sudden he realized with all of those things, there was so much responsibility. Now he's very dutiful. So he's got a sense of, I'm supposed to provide and protect. And now I have you guys to be worried about. It's not just me, it's us as a family. And he was scared for a minute. He didn't, and really what he was scared of was not being able to fulfill what he thought his duties were in this family. And that made him almost want to self-sabotage because better to just do away with it now and be like, "Oh, see, it didn't work out, not my fault," than to really be brave. And I remember having a conversation with my angels once where they told me, "Be specific in what you wish for. Don't be afraid to be specific. Don't just ask for a new house. What kind of house?" Well, and I would laugh because I'm like, "Well, I don't want to be like, yo, God, I want a mansion and, a couple of horses. And, I just don't want to be presumptuous like that. And I still want to stay humble." And they would laugh and they'd say, "Be specific. Ask and you'll receive." And there's strength in that phrase, "ask and you will receive." Now, one of the things you have to be prepared for is with those desires or with those things that you ask for comes responsibility. And so you have to be ready to be able to take on that responsibility, to have those things, maintain those things, whatever they are, if they're physical or not. Partnerships. We all want that partnership with somebody. We want that special someone, but are we ready to handle that? Are we ready to devote ourselves to that person? Are we ready to, you know, play our role in that relationship? Because there is duty that comes with that, there is responsibility. And so we're not meant to get everything all at once because we wouldn't know what to do with it. We'd freak out and be like, oh my God, I can't handle this. And we'd lose it all. And so trust in divine timing.
I think that we receive what we wish for at the time we develop the maturity to maintain and sustain it, where we can
Right.
properly appreciate, properly receive and utilize. And I mean, you brought up such a powerful, powerful point where your significant other was afraid that he wouldn't be able to live up to the expectations he set for himself of how he was going to be what he believed you guys needed him to be. And the reality of it is he was already all of that, and that's why it was working. It's his
Right.
cognition of it, his realization of now there's
Right.
responsibility and it becomes official. And I think that's how most of us will kind of sabotage our own process and growth. This realization of what we're already actively doing, and we need to make formal. And then it becomes this thing of, well, I don't know how to do that. Or I don't have the experience for that. Or what if I fail? What if I don't do it right? What if I don't succeed enough? And it's like, what really is enough? Who determines that?
Right. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. He was already all of those things. And that's why I kind of laugh at it. Oh, you silly fool. I'm like, I wouldn't be here if you didn't, if you weren't ready for it. I see the potential. I see where the heart is, and I see where your mind is. And that's all I need is that honesty, that sincerity. And, yeah, we're going to stumble along the way, and you're always learning new things. You're never going to get it right the first time. Like I tell the girls, how is it the first time you do something, and how is it the 100th time you do something? And that's one of our common lessons in the house. Um, I found a journal from Danielle's mess of a closet, and it's like, "Do you want to keep this?" No, it's just full of things. And it's like, "Well, let me see what's in there." And here she had her little drawings and stuff. She does all these character drawings, and she's insane, incredibly good at them. Oh my God, I had no idea. But I looked at this journal from about 2 years ago, and they're pretty crude, and she's like, oh my God, yeah, those are not good at all. But at the time, she thought they were great. And, to see how someone progresses and how that constant where they just keep working on things that they want to be better at, you're going to improve. So why ever stop? Why cut yourself short? Don't, just because, you try to compare yourself to what somebody else is, you're setting yourself up for failure because you're not meant to be like that person, and you're not meant to do what they do or how they do. You can be similar to what they do, or be inspired by what they do, but that doesn't mean, we're supposed to follow the teachings of Christ. It doesn't mean we're supposed to be Christ. We're supposed to be Christ like, um, not take his place. And
Right.
so, remember that with yourself. And I'm not talking to just you, but everybody is look to others for inspiration. Don't try to shape yourself to what they are because that's not how it was meant to be. You are yourself, you are your own divine creature, and you have your own part to play in this colorful world of existence that we live in.
I mean, we all really do. And, the best way to honor
Mhm.
yourself and your purpose is to do, like you said, allow people to inspire you in the ways they're designed to inspire you, but never try and become who they already are. Creation doesn't need two of the same. Even flowers will grow differently. They'll have different variations
Mhm.
in size, shape, color on the same plant. They never grow
Mhm.
exactly the same, and it can't be something that you program as though you're nothing but this artificial intelligence. We're so much more than that. We're so much more than copies or
Mhm.
clones. Do you have time still? I know it's been over the 90-minute mark. Do you have a few minutes to take a few questions, or do you have to get going?
I'm sure I can take some questions.
Do you guys want
Would
to?
love to.
I want to show you this. I love this. Maria says their souls and energies are kind of like supporting each other. I can't find the needed words to explain it on English what I mean, but it's so great, like watching a dance of two powerfully beautiful swans. Oh,
Oh,
that.
oh, that's so sweet.
It is.
I
They
like that.
have amazingly sweet things to say about you. Their reception of your energy. I mean, you can't hide how sweet and amazing you are. You can't hide it. It just oozes from you. And so they're all bathed in this sweetness and this beautiful, very balanced, divine feminine energy. And I think it's shifting a lot of people in the way they perceive themselves, the way they perceive the way their journey has gone. Here's one. Tanya says, I miss having that connection you both have. Why I'm on this channel, because I need that strength. Sometimes I need that physical connection of a sincere friend. You're blessed. I really truly am. I really, really, truly am blessed. I'm sure Jenna's going to be like, we're both blessed. Yeah, I have such a
That's
deep
true, though.
appreciation for you because you're really the kind of friend that I needed when I wasn't even able to allow anyone to be my friend. Even myself, I couldn't be my own friend. So you have a very, very powerful effect on my journey. Do you guys have any
Well, no,
questions?
let's touch on that too, because she needs to understand our friendship. That there's times where we don't talk for, oh my gosh, ever. And,
Years.
we kind of get swept up in our own lives, but we always kind of touch base, like, hey, what's going on? Catch up. And, oh my God, stuff's going crazy, blah, blah. And then we do this, like, this boomerang effect where we go and we come back, and we go and we come back, and we're never really in one place at the same time. The only way I can get Emmy to stay in one place is if I bring down a snowstorm or cut all the power out. Otherwise, she'll just run off right away. But, friendships, like, what's your idea of what a true friendship is? Because we are not going out to tea all the time or coffee. We're not calling each other every day on the phone. We used to. I get a lot more done in my day now, but but we kind of veer off on our own paths, and then we touch base. Hey, what's going on your end of the universe, and what's going on in mine? So friendships, there's so many different types of friendships, and the friendship I have with you is so empowering, and it's funny because you look to me like I want to be like you, and I look to you like, man, I wish I had your capabilities. I want to be more like you. But we always end up right back in our space, and we feel more confident in what we are, because how we view each other and how we share our views of each other with each other, and that encouragement. And so that's not something we do all the time, but once in a while it's extremely impactful. So if you have that friend that you don't talk to often but moves you that way, that's still a great friendship, you know.
Yeah.
But
She said it says she's more than sweet and calm. She's a powerful generator of source energy. And that's how I've always
mm.
known you to be. Um, in case you guys didn't realize, I hadn't talked to Jenna in maybe like a year, maybe more than a year. I don't know. We hadn't talked, and um I got to a point in a recent live stream where I just really felt like I'm about to tip over and deep dive into the dark side. I'm now intoxicated. Remember when I used to like reach out every once in a while when things are real bad, and I'd be like, Jenna, I'm becoming bloodthirsty. I want to destroy. And I'd be like, no, just take a little sip, put it down. You're okay. I'd be like, just no, no. And that's why I reached out. And that's the mark of a truly, truly powerful person, where you don't need me to commit my entire day to you in order to be able to receive that type of blessing of helping me to balance myself. It's a mutually beneficial thing where we just allow ourselves to live our lives. We come together when we need to, and we have just an unspoken understanding of I'm there when you need me, and you have the freedom when you don't. And that's such a
Oh,
beautiful.
I love that.
Okay, so Kitty Claus says, does Jenna offer energy work or any other type of services? You're badass, Jenna.
I used to, and I was telling my sweet love that, once upon a time, I just started really getting in touch with people and working with people. And then, I moved and had everything flipped upside down in my life. And so lately I've been thinking about I need to get back into that because one thing I realized with healing and doing energy work is I always had this mind frame of that, well, I got drama going on in my life and I don't want to pass that on to other people. And so I would pull back and I wouldn't put myself out there for others. And then when I started just, working with people, I realized that letting that source energy flow through me and working with somebody else was healing me at the same time I was healing them. And so I realized that it was doing that work that didn't just benefit the person I was working with, but it made me feel good. It made me remember my purpose here and what I do and how I can be of service to others. And I feel like every time I come into that sense of self, like I know my purpose, this is what I do, this is what I'm good at, and I enjoy it, I should just do it. I feel like the world just hits me even harder. And so I was thinking about this and like I noticed this trend when I get stronger and reach out to others and start to heal others and work with others to grow in themselves, suddenly I'm kind of getting squashed. What is this that's trying to hold me down? And so I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I don't think it's by chance that you jumped back into my life and dragged me onto a live stream. You've been trying to get me on live for how many years?
I know.
Um, I I do need to put myself out there, and I know that there's crazy things going on. I think I'm finally back to that center, starting to come back into myself. And I was just thinking about that. I really want to get back out there and start working with people again because it's so rewarding. um, and I've helped people with trauma. I've helped people just who remember, I can't remember who it was, but she's like, I want to be like you, and I want to be like Emmie, and I want to be like Jenna, and you guys are so, like, you're so powerful and you can do these things. How do I do that? I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. First, you got to figure out yourself. So
Right.
let's start from square one. So I started teaching her how to meditate, how to become self aware of her own energy so that when something outside of that comes to her, she can sense it, she can feel it. And I realized, wow, I got a knack for this. Maybe I should be doing this. So, yes, I am definitely open with working with people, traumas, and just pretty much anything people come to me with. I somehow, have exactly what they need at that moment. And so I'm overflowing with love and source energy. Yes, you're right. I do view myself as an overflowing cup, that fountain that just keeps going. Um, and I would love to be able to share that with anybody who needs it. So,
Have you gone back to making dream catchers?
yes, I just made one for Christmas.
Do you have it to show? You guys, she makes dream catchers that are
um, Yeah, so I think I have Facebook Sophia's Dreams, but I haven't really been on there lately. And I was thinking about getting back on there because it wasn't supposed to be just about the dream catchers and the things that I made, but it was also a place where people could reach out to me. and where I could, work with them. Like I said, things kind of got thrown off track, but I've been debating. I should probably get back to that and start to, you know, spark that fire again. Um, so
Isn't
I guess what you guys are telling me is I should start this back up, huh?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There is a link for her page on Facebook. Um,
Hmm.
I'll put it on the screen as soon as it pops on. Here we go. Sophia's Dreams. And with that, you guys could definitely talk to Jenna and whatever it is. She makes the most not just beautiful, but ridiculously powerful dream catchers. They are so infused with source energy, that divine mother energy, healing, all sorts of stuff. All right. Okay. Michael says they have to feel our energy together. Are you down to
I
swirl?
do that on purpose. Sure, we can swirl.
Okay. So, should I
I
play a
think we have been this whole time.
I think so too. I feel giddy. I'll play some music for us to swirl to, and people can feel what it feels like to finally get into a place of self-love, self-acceptance, and self-healing.
Mhm.
You take the lead.
So it's when you find that place where everything around you fades away and you feel that energy from source and life all around you, everything around you, and you feel the world spinning and you see the planets twirling and the chasing each other around the sun and the sun swirling around the galaxy, you start to realize that everything around us is motion. The energy all around us is constantly swirling. And so you feel yourself caught up in that twirl. And that's where you feel connected with everything around you, the life force that's constantly moving around us. It's kind of like the little pools in the river that never hold on to the same water. It's constantly moving through them. But you see these little pools with the water swirling within it, constantly taking in and letting go of everything that comes and then leaves. And you find that point of center where you are an observer of all of this happening around you. And you realize that you can take and hold on to any piece you want, and you can let it go when you're ready to let go.
That's so beautiful.
I want you to describe your energy, Mary. Emmie, what do you see?
I see myself spinning, and it's no longer a dimly lit space. It's something so bright, a reflection of that external shine taken deep inside and projected back outside of me. I saw a lot of people dancing, dancing all around, celebrating. And then the water came and it cleansed all their feet. There was no more mud. Everything that was muddied was cleansed, and we were standing on solid ground. The ground was solid, but it wasn't concrete. They were rocks, smaller kinds, bigger kinds, all sorts of different rocks. And no one's feet hurt. When I looked at the rocks, they represented all of the dreams that we had let go of, the dreams we thought that were too heavy to carry. We'd been standing on our dreams this whole time. And as the water washed away the mud, we were able to pick and choose exactly which one we wanted to hold and for how long we wanted to hold it.
I love that.
I do
Oh,
too.
you're gonna have me thinking about that all day now. Which pebble do I want to put in my pocket today?
That's beautiful. Oh, you're so amazing, Jenna. You're so
Give
amazing.
me another question. Who else has got questions on there?
Okay, let's see. Um, they're all just like super beautiful compliments. I don't see any actual questions. Do you guys have actual questions that Jenna can answer?
Yeah.
We can take one more before we go. And don't forget, this is her Facebook page, Sophia's Dreams. You guys are definitely encouraged to reach out. Jenna has so much she can offer humanity. It's really beautiful to know that you're considering stepping back out and being seen, being witnessed. I love that.
Well, it's scary when you step out because you step outside of your comfort zone, and it's just like, oh, what's going to happen, and it's funny because once I stepped out, I realized there is nothing to be scared of. It was actually quite beautiful. Some of the people I met were just amazing, and they really inspired me too and made me realize, that the what's special about me and what's special about them. And so it's kind of like what you were saying, the duality between us and how we're able to see each other or ourselves from each other's perspective. So,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, I probably should get going.
Catherine says, absolutely 100%. You're both a light for others who just need a little guidance. And I think that's the most important thing for us to remember. Neither I nor Jenna exist as a template for you to clone or copy. We're here to simply inspire you to be more of who you are. Um, you could be as dark as I can be, or you can be as light as Jenna normally usually exists at. Both are very valid, very, very, very valid places to exist. She's not less than me. I'm not less than her. We just give each other a sense of where we're positioned within our plane of existence. And being in each other's presence helps to heal both of us simultaneously, regardless of who's doing the leading out of the difficult parts. Um, Whoever is the giver also receives, and whoever is the receiver also gives. It's a very beautiful way to exist with other people. Very, very beautiful
Right.
way. Do you want to share anything before we go, Jenna?
And we should talk about that next time, allowing others to be giving and how we can be receiving, because I think a lot of people struggle with that too. But I am so glad you let me come on today and had me as a guest. And I
Yes.
really appreciate all the sweet things everybody said. And I guess maybe I'll come on another show with you again.
And also, Michael says no limits because you'll be doing live streams as well on your page.
I know, I know, I know. I'm bashful. What can I say? And I
Well,
tend to ramble. I know I do, but oh well. I just got to get over that, right? Like I told you, one foot in front of the other. Just
definitely.
do it.
Definitely. Just do it, you
Uh,
guys. So, thank you, everyone, for this beautiful space that we all shared together. Thank you, especially Jenna, for coming on and being your amazing self
you're welcome.
from the deepest depths of my heart's
Yeah.
oceans. I love you guys, and we'll see you again next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.